to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Michael Cordeur, to all of you. And I will just give, his CV is as long as a number of pages, and we can't go there. But so I'm just going to, take a few highlights from his CV for those of you that is not, known to Professor Cordeur, and allow me just to read it. So Professor Michael Cordeur is a full professor and NRH-rated researcher. He chairs the Department of Curriculum Studies in the Faculty of Education at Stellenbosch University. By profession, he is a language teacher by profession. He is a former high school principal and a circuit manager in the Western Cape Education Department. On the 1st of July 2017, he was appointed as the Associate Professor, and on the 1st of July 2019, he was appointed as Full Professor. Cordeur holds a Master's and a Doctorate from the Stellenbosch University, an Honours from the University of Western Cape, a B.Ed from UNISA, and a Senior Management Diploma cum laude from Stellenbosch University Graduate School of Business. Now, his research and his publication deals with learners' reading and writing skills and language in education. He's also the author, co-author and editor of 37 books. And to date, he has published 270 opinion pieces, which prompted him to be one of the first recipients of a Media Award of Excellence in 2018 and 2019, recognizing him as one of Stellenbosch University's thought leaders. So Professor Michael Cordeur, a warm welcome to you from Symphonia, South Africa. And as always, thank you for making yourself available to talk to us. And we are keen to learn from you this morning. What is it that we need to do differently going forward in our schools? So welcome.
Yes, good morning, everybody. And thank you very much, Jessica, for inviting me. Thank you also to the management of your school leadership from the leadership from Symphonia. It's indeed an honor for me to speak to you. I've been working with Partners for Possibility a few times lately, and I find the work that you guys are doing extremely exciting, and I think that you are giving a valuable service to education in South Africa. In fact, I think that you are setting the example in many cases, even to the Department of Education, and we all can learn from you. We all are keen to learn from you, hence my motivation to work with you. Now, I've also noted that Louise van Rijn has joined us. Good morning to you, Louise, and thank you also for your leadership. We are in a very difficult situation in South Africa, and we are all looking for answers in one way or the other. It has been an uphill journey so far, and like somebody said before, I think it was Helene who said, school principals, they are in a very, very difficult situation, and I do not envy you, believe me. When I was still working with Mr. Brian O'Connell used to say that the task of a school principal is perhaps the most difficult job in the community, and we need a whole village to educate a child, and of all of them living in that village, your school principal, he or she, they've got the most difficult job. And if you put in that mix the trying situation that we are finding ourselves in today, it makes for even a more difficult work to do. So from my side, I want to wish you well. I want to wish you strength, and I sincerely hope that we will get through this. And I wish you safety, and I wish you good health, all of you. And I'm just scared I'm going to forget to say this, so let me say it right from the start. Please do not forget to look after yourself as well. We tend to care so much for the community and for everybody in the school and for everybody around us that we sometimes tend to forget that we need also to take a look at ourselves and our families. So please don't make that mistake. You are valuable to us, very, very valuable, and we want you to stay safe and to stay healthy. It's been an uphill journey so far, you know, and we are, well, in this lockdown situation now for about 7 weeks. And I know that, you know, tension is running high, and after 7 weeks, people are getting restless. And the question is, what will happen next? We had the opportunity to listen to our president last night, and we have learned from him that there is a possibility that we will maybe go into level 3 as from the 1st of May, the 1st of June, and that coincidentally, you know, coincides with the 1st of June, which is of course a date that we all are looking forward to, and I will come back to that. And I do agree, and I am fully aware, and I do appreciate that things are difficult at the moment, and you all want to know, so when are we going back to school? So at this stage, it is still the 1st of June. We are about to listen to the Minister of Education. If I'm not mistaken, she will speak in the course of this day, and hopefully she will shed some light again when the schools will reopen. But so far, I haven't heard anything else except to say that the matrics and the grade 7s will go back to the 1st of June. So for now, we have to work with that scenario. But, you know, even if we, well, and we hope it will not be the case, but even if we are not going back to school on the 1st of June, so we're going back to school on the 1st of July, or the 1st of August, whatever the case, fact is that we will go to school, back to school sometime, and when that will happen, things will change. And that is the first thing that we must say to each other this morning. Things will change. Things will never be the same again. And as a leader, and I'm aware that I'm speaking to the leaders of the school, I'm speaking to the chair of governing bodies and school management teams, so you guys are the leaders of the school. And as leaders, you will have to prepare yourself for this change. It will not be easy. Remember, these are uncharted areas. We haven't been down this lane before, so we will have to come up with new ideas for new challenges. And to start off, you will have to have a sincere look at yourself, because as the leader of the school, unfortunately, you are the leader, you are the heart of the school, and if anything is going to change, that change will have to start with you. You will be first and foremost the person where everything will have to start. And allow me to share with you a little quote. Many of you might know this, but I am very fond, you know, of Socrates, the antique Greek philosopher, who once said that the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, not trying to keep intact what was, but on building the new. We need your energy today to build on the new, and already we are beginning to see that people are beginning to speak of what they call the new normal. So what is this new normal, and how should we respond to this? Pardon me. I want to share with you something that I've read the other day from the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Now, you might know that New Zealand are boasting one of the most successful fights against this COVID-19 pandemic. And when she was asked, you know, what is her secret, she listed two things. The first was, you must begin with a culture of unity. And secondly, you must communicate continuously. And when you do communicate, you must communicate very clear and very decisively. And as a leader, that is really important to you. Many times I hear people saying, yeah, we've listened to the president and it was the same critique after last night. Yes, we've listened to him, but we not quite understood what was said. The communication was not quite that clear. Be that as it may, I think that our president is doing, under very difficult circumstances, I think he is doing exceptionally well. And I don't want to be in his shoes at this kind of time. So let's take a leaf out of the book of Jacinda Ardern. First of all, you must lead by example. You must lead decisively. And very important, you must have transparent communication in your school. If you want to create a culture of unity, if you want to get everybody on board, then you need to take people into confidence and you need to communicate in a very transparent way. And for that, you can use all kinds of means. I would want to motivate you and to urge you to use social media, use technology. Yes, I know we are not all good in technology, but perhaps now is the opportune time for you to upskill yourself and your staff, because at the end of the day, you know, we do not have any excuse anymore. If you do have a cell phone, and if you are paying your cell phone account every month at the end of the month, then you actually don't have any excuse not to use social media, not to use the technology. And we need to go that way. Make use of WhatsApps. It is very cheap and it can reach a lot of people because, you know, somebody once said to me that if we have 57 million people in South Africa, you can rest assured that we have more than 57 million cell phones in this country. So we do have cell phones. Yes, I am aware of the fact that we do have some of our people in townships and in the far rural areas, but in the main, you would be able to communicate with people through WhatsApps and by means of your cell phones. I think the president has shown so far exemplary leadership. However, and that is a point I wanted to make to you as a principal or as a chair of a school governing body, it is of no use if you as the leader are at the forefront, if you work your butt off, if you work so hard, but then you must be careful, you know, how do you delegate? Yes, sometimes you cannot do everything yourself. You will have to give some of your work to some of your deputies. But make sure that your deputies and those who are working with you in your school management team, that they share your aims and your passion, and so that at the end of the day, they will not defeat what you are actually trying to achieve. As an SMT, you must be a very close unit. And as an SMT and as an SGB, the school governing body, you must be able to work as a unit and as a unity. And you must show that unity when you are dealing with your staff. Because many times I've seen, you know, very good plans getting into the staff room, and then because the SMT are not supporting one another, because they are not speaking from the same voice, then things can get a bit out of hand. Make sure that you are all on the same page. And like I said before, please put on your oxygen mask first. before you are trying to assist others. Make sure you are okay. Make sure you are healthy. Make sure that you are sleeping enough. And make sure you are getting enough rest. Because at the end of the day, we need you, and we need your leadership, and we need you to be present. Because you must lead from the front. Therefore, it is very important that you must also look after yourself. Take care of yourself. Find solutions. You know, all of us in these days, we will have to come up with an action plan. Now, like I said before, this is uncharted territory. We cannot rely on history because there's no history yet. Yes, we can learn from countries like Russia and Italy and China perhaps, but we do not have exact science at this point in time. So it is still a long way before we will even get to a vaccine. People tell me it is the best part of 18 months and 24 months, 2 years before we will get to the point where we will be able to use a vaccine. So in the meantime, we cannot rely on history. So you will have to follow the rules very, very strictly. As the leader of the school, you will have to make sure that everybody follows the rules. Find new solutions for new challenges. Make sure that your teachers and your parents are exposed to workshops. While we are at home at this point in time, you cannot just sit back not doing anything. Get all the information you can get. Make sure that your staff and your parents are well informed so that when we do go back to school and they need to make a decision, they will be able to make a well-informed decision. You will get to the point where some of your staff members will not be well. They might feel ill, they might feel sick. And remember, the golden rule is, should that happen, if one of your staff members come up to you saying, I'm feeling ill, I'm not feeling that well, you must send him or her home, and he or she will have to stay at home for at least 14 days, 2 weeks. That is how long it will take for this virus to eventually subside, because it can stay alive for up to 2 weeks. So unfortunately, you will have to send the teacher back home, and then you will have to have somebody who can replace that teacher, which brings forward another challenge for you as the principal. Right now, as we speak, you must work on the list of substitute teachers should anything happen to one of your current teachers. So that you cannot, on the day of your crisis, go to your phone book or go onto your cell phone and start looking for people at that time. You must get your that list ready so that you do know where to go to should something like that do happen. Also important, show interest in the well-being of your teachers. Some leaders are very work-driven and expecting a lot of their people, but be mindful and bear in mind that teachers cannot give their best if they are not feeling well. And sometimes it is not just physical. Sometimes they just need to hear somebody talking to them, asking how it goes, showing some interest in their well-being. And you will be surprised how much feedback you will get from that and how much support you will eventually get from that. Because when people see that you can show passion and that you are in fact also interested in them as a person, not just as a worker, you will often find that you will get so much more from that teacher. Try and do that. This virus started off in China. So I went for a Chinese proverb, and so I found out that the word crisis, when the word crisis is spelled in Chinese, they spell it, well, we will call it 2 stripes or 2 signs. And the one sign meaning danger, and the other one meaning opportunity. So a crisis, yes, it is danger. It poses danger to our learners and our teachers and our community. But if we get too caught up with the dangers, we're running the risk to miss the opportunities that the crisis offer you. With any crisis will offer some opportunities, and you must be clever enough to see the gaps and to see those opportunities. And I will come back to that. Let us use the time to do some introspection. Let us ask honest questions from ourselves, and let us give honest answers. And let us start working as a team. How good are we at the moment? How good are we doing what we are doing at the moment? And do we do the best for our learners that we can at this particular time? So let us look to the dangers first. Now you know all of this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'm just going to quickly touch on the following things, because when you go back to school, you as the principal, as the leader, will have to make sure that all of the following things are in place. And I'll run through it quickly. Do you have enough masks? Now, please, I've listened to people who say negative things like, you know what, the department can't even deliver textbooks to the school. How will they be able to deliver 2,000 masks? Don't engage in that negative talk. If the department do deliver the masks that they have promised, well done. But you and I know those masks will not last for 6 months. So you must get a support team at your school, and you must start working to actually fabricate your own mask. Get your parents involved and begin to make your own mask. And you know what? You can do it in your own school colors. And by doing that, create some more unity amongst your learners as well. And remember, you must use cotton on the outside, and you mustn't use synthetic material on the inside. Get parents to take some responsibility. They often feel left out. Now is the time to involve them and to give them some responsibility as well. You will have to screen your teachers and learners every day. You will have to teach your kids what to do if they cough or if they do sneeze. You must also be aware that if learners have some of the light symptoms, they must be sent home. They must stay in isolation for 14 days. You don't have a choice but to do that. You must have running water at your school. Make sure all the taps are in working order. Are there enough soap and sanitizers? And is every teacher aware of their particular responsibility? Yes, the minister can send you the sanitizers. She can send you the mask. But at the end of the day, a teacher must stand at the door of that classroom with a bottle of sanitizers. And she or he must do the hard work. Are your teachers ready for that? Do they know what to do? They must do it when the learners come into the class. They must do it again when they leave the class. And learners must know how to wash their hands. And so for that, we can do it in a very creative manner. You know, learners at high school, you can teach them how to wash your hands, inside, outside, between the fingers, the nails, etc., etc. Not so with the smaller learners. So go onto the internet, and I've done it. And Jessica, if you are ready to play that little video for us, we can do it now. You can all take this video. It is available on the internet, and it just gives the teachers in the lower grades an opportunity to show how you can teach your learners how to wash their hands thoroughly. If you teach your learners to wash their hands by means of a small recitation or by means of a small video, a little song, they will remember it for longer, and it will stay with them for so much longer. The main aim here, or the bottom line is that you must make sure that learners wash their hands more than once, and they must do it very, very thoroughly. So, secondly, we have now touched on the dangers, and I'm going to move on now, because this is also a time for opportunities. So use the time wisely. This is a very important and opportune time to improve yourself, to improve your staff. This is a time for self-development, because at the end of the day, after 6 months, after 12 months, we must be a better school, you must be a better teacher, you must be a better principal. Because we cannot ignore the fact that we have time available, and we must make the best of that. Try to reinvent yourself, revamp your teaching content. Now's the time, to renew your lectures, find new content to in your classroom, so that when you go back with fresh information that will motivate your learners to come to school. You always wanted to go for that short course. Now's the time. Go now. You don't have much more time, because you will have to be back at school, I believe, by the 28th of May. Many of us are, well, we have been found wanting now, because during this time of online teaching, many of us, we struggled with the technology, and we can't do the online teaching the way we wanted to do. So now is also the time to go for that ICT course, get some PowerPoint workshops, etc., etc. Make sure that you are well educated when it gets to online teaching. May I share an experience with you? In my case, I've been sitting on this new book for months now. And so this lockdown period came, and I said to myself, you know what? I've got 3 weeks to finish this book. And so that motivated me, and I planned my work, and after 3 weeks, guess what? It was finished. But unfortunately, then the president says, no, I want you to stay at home for another 2 weeks, and then another 3 weeks. Pardon me. So what I did is I then translated the book from English to Afrikaans. And just to show that you can make use of time, we must just know how to do that. We must not spend all our times trying to solve problems. And as a leader, you are always caught up trying to solve other people's problems. Remember, you are leading an SMT, a school management team. Make sure that they all play their part. Everybody must do something, and try to invent new things for new challenges. Right. Let us move forward now and look at the future. And it will be required from you as a school leader to find new solutions, because after this lockdown, or after this crisis, this pandemic, things are going to be very, very different. One of the things that we are found wanting in these days is that we do not have enough social distance in our classrooms and in our schools. Our classrooms are too big. So you as a school and as a school governing body will have to plan for this. And you will have to make very sure that you stick to the numbers that is prescribed by the education department, which is about 34, 35 per class. And I know there are very difficult circumstances out there. I know many of you as a principal, you feel for the community. You always tell me, no, but I feel for the community. Where must these learners go to? The fact is, you cannot accommodate everybody. You cannot look after every single child, but you can look after the children that is enrolled at your school. So make sure that you have a number of learners at your school that is not overwhelming, that is manageable, and that your teachers can give individual attention to. Let's think about high school, the matrics. Everybody is now shouting, when are the matrics going back to school? They must have a final exam, etc., etc. Can I ask you something? Do the matrics really have to come to school every single day? Do they really have to come to school every single day? They can come to school every other day. Like it was said before by Jess, I've been the circuit manager for Stellenbosch for a number of years. I think it was almost 10 years. And I've worked with very, very good schools. And I can tell you that there are some of the very, very good Stellenbosch schools where the matrics do not come to school every day. They are adults, they are clever, and they can help themselves at home. They can come to school for 3 days and you must give them work to work on their own. And by doing that, you will create space for your teachers and you will create breathing space for your teachers. You will give them time off to reincorporate and to find themselves and to find new energy, because you must keep your teachers fresh. Are we ready to teach online? Are our school geared to online teaching? And if not, what are we going to do about that? Do an inventory of your staff's IT skills. Do you know who on your staff are very good with PowerPoints? Do you know who at your school are very good at, with online teaching? If not, you will have to upskill your teachers. Think of new subjects. When are your school going to embark on subjects such as robotics, for instance? And do we have to continue with some of the older subjects? These are the things that you must now think about. You must take an inventory of your whole school curriculum, and you must make sure that we teach our learners relevant skills that is appropriate for 2020, 2021. And then you must build a new school curriculum. That said, you must also now take an inventory of your staff's well-being. Do you know how old are your staff? How many of them are post 60 years? It's important because already we hear that those who are above 60 might stay at home. And if they are going to stay at home, who will take up their place in your classes? How many of them have underlying illness, the so-called comorbidities? Do you know how many of your staff members have situations such as diabetes, high blood pressure? You will have to do an inventory of all of that so that when we get to a crisis like this, you will know how to act, and you will have to act swiftly and quickly. You will have to start a process to balance your staff. You must get to a situation where your staff is balanced according to age. Unfortunately, we have a lot of very good teachers, and we as the school leaders, we tend to hang on to them forever and forever and forever until thy kingdom come. You must be cognizant of the fact that you also need new blood in your school. You must have it's a fine balance, because we need the experience of the older people and we need the energy of the younger people. But you must think of these things, because if everybody on your school or in your staff is 55 years up to 60 years old, you will find yourself in a very difficult situation come a crisis such as COVID-19. So we will have to think about that. We at the university always find it very difficult to get all our students placed in schools, because they're coming back to us and saying, we just cannot find a place at any school, hence we are going to do an honors degree. We will stay on for a master's degree because we cannot find any employment out there. It's time for us to have a very sincere look at getting younger people involved in the education situation. And then I think those of you who are working with Partners for Possibility, you are more likely aware of the fact and the value of working with a partner. So let me speak about finding strategic partners for your school. Let's start with a business partner, like working with Symphonia South Africa or working with Partners for Possibility. A business partner can bring a lot to your school. They can improve the school environment. They offer leadership development, not just yourself as a school leader, but your governing body and your school management team as well must all go through leadership courses, because we need leadership urgently post-COVID-19. Do you have a partner for sport? Do you have sponsors for each of your teams? Because we tend to depend too much on school funds, and teachers must pay thousands of rand every single year. But remember, many people are going to lose their jobs due to COVID-19. So once we get to past COVID-19, many of your parents will struggle to pay those school fees. They will struggle to support their learners to play sport. So it is time for you now to start looking for partners for sport and for culture. School choirs, if you want to continue to participate in the Eisteddfods, you will have to find partners for all of these. And then, of course, you must give credit to those who are sponsoring you. You know, use your letterheads, use your websites, boast these names on your sport jerseys. But important is, we can no longer rely on the government alone to bear all the financial expenses of a school. Neither can you rely on the parents for them, and just every year the school fees increases and increase every single year. Parents for a few years to come will be in a very difficult situation. There will not be enough money around to manage a school that you were used to. So we will have to think very creatively how we are going to conquer all of these challenges. And to do that, remember what I've said before, it takes a whole village to educate a child. You will get your whole community on board. Everybody in the community must begin to understand that if they want to have successful school, successful education, and if they want to have successful children in the near future, they will all have to roll up their sleeves, and everybody must be able to do something. Find people in your community to sponsor the school fees of learners who are struggling. There are many parents out there, or many people out there, who do not have children at school anymore, but they might be willing to support a particular child, one particular child. Try and work out a situation. I think Jessica told me, and I've witnessed last year, I went to a function of Partners for Possibility at the Cordeur High School in Stellenbosch, and I saw, you know, the enormous role that Mediclinic is playing there, and how they support many of the learners there. So get people on board. I'm aware, for instance, that and you might know him, Scout Burger, the former Springbok lockford, he's got a huge farm down there here in Wellington, and many of his children go to a particular school, and he has taken on the responsibility to pay the school fees of all the children who's living on his farm permittent. You know, he set a very, very strict requirements, and that is they must be in school every day and they must pass every single year. As long as they do well in school, he will support them financially. This is the kind of partners that we must begin looking for. Make sure that you go out in the community, because the community must support all of us. I'm almost done, but I want to say something about the parents. From what I hear, the parents are very unhappy. Parents feel that they are being left out in the cold. Uh, Everybody expects them to do some homeschooling, but nobody tells them how. What can they do at home? Because remember, they've been in school 20, 25 years ago. So you as a school community, as a school management team, you will have to engage with your parents. Start every single parent-teacher meeting in the future in your school hall and get one of your teachers to teach your parents one or two activities that they can do at home. And I'll give you one or two examples that you can go and try out at home. So here are a few, and there are many, many more that you can find if you just go onto the internet. But first of all, stick to the routine. You must tell your parents that while the children are at home, they must have a routine. There's time for work, and there's time for play, and we must keep a balanced plan for them out there while they are at home. So here are a few possibilities. Be careful. We always be on the lookout for teaching moments. For instance, baking recipes are fantastic mathematics lessons. You can ask your children to double or to halve the ingredients. You know, how many milliliters is a teaspoon and how many teaspoons will fit in a cup. That will teach them fractions. It will teach them the abstract concepts of weight and volume. What happens when you bake a cake? You know, what happens there in that oven is chemistry. Making an electrical circuit with a battery, a switch, and a bulb is physics. If you go out in your garden, or if you go outside, you can plant some of the beans in cotton wool and teach your child, you know, to watch how it blossoms. Because then you are doing some biology while you are at home. Go on with art and music. Start singing. Get them to dance. And don't feel stupid. If you're feeling stupid, well, then you at least know what teachers must endure, because they must dance and they must sing with their children. We can teach our kids important life skills. For the older ones, how do we change a flat tire? How do we replace a plug of the hairdryer? How do you replace the plug of the kettle? These are life skills that you can teach them now, and that they will have it with them forever. Play games with them. Games that will teach them to concentrate and to focus. Card games. Give them language lessons by asking them to write WhatsApp to their parents, to their grandparents, and ask them to expect returns. Make sure that they write in very good English or good Afrikaans, not in a WhatsApp language, please. This is a language lesson that you can teach them. Read together. And if your child is still in the foundation phase, you must still read stories to those children. These are all things that parents can do, and you as teachers must teach your parents to engage with their children while they are at home. You know, I'm almost done. Finally, how do you market your school? Does your school have a website? If not, you simply have to ask your learners. One, to invent a website, and secondly, to maintain that website. They are so good with the computers, and don't overlook their skills. Do your school have a school newspaper? Well, then it's time for you to start one. You know, when I used to be a school principal, the first thing I did is start out with a school newspaper for the news of the sport, news about the community, news about all the things that learners are doing at the school. Is your school on Facebook? Instagram, LinkedIn. From what I hear from the younger people is that school-going children nowadays are more fond of Instagram, and it's the older people who are on Facebook. But I am aware of the fact that there are some colleagues who are listening to us now, who are communicating with their learners and their parents on a daily basis via Facebook. It is cheap, it costs nothing, and it reaches a lot of people. So invest in those kind of activities as well. Your sponsors would love to pay for these websites or for these school newspapers, of course, provided that you will give them some exposure in your newsletters. And make sure that you invite your sponsors first when you have school functions such as concerts and sport and culture evenings. And when you do invite your sponsors, let them feel like VIPs. Let them feel like they are very, very important people, because at the end of the day, they are indeed very important people. In conclusion, this is a terrible time for all of us. But like any other crisis, something good will come from it. And if you are taking the lead, something good will come from this, and your school will be a better school. Because after the COVID-19 crisis, we will have to engage with a new normal. Things will never be the same again. Let me share you one last thought from Louis Amour. Louis Amour, who said, there will come a time when you believe everything is finished. You cannot go further anymore. But you are wrong. You are now at a new beginning. I wish you the best, and I wish you safety, and I wish you good health, and may God bless you.